It used to cost over $250,000 to start up a licensed cannabis brand. Nowadays, you can do it for essentially free. Today, we're gonna go over 2 viable methods to starting your licensed cannabis brand with having 0 startup capital. So not only did the bulk materials of buying your raw flower and distillate and any other ingredients, all that got cut in half this year because of the way the market has trended downwards. In addition to that, since 2023, we're no longer on the hook for cultivation tax. And that ultimately would have been the brand's responsibility because that cultivation tax gets baked into the price of the weed. So when you're buying the weed, it'd be $150 higher in price to the brand because of that cultivation tax here in California. So here's how to get started with your licensed cannabis brand without having any startup capital. Method 1 is to leverage your relationships and your reputation. And this is important because it takes both. You gotta have a solid reputation and some solid relationships. So what you're gonna do is align with cultivators and distributors that you already have some trust built with, and you have some form of track record established to where you've been selling large amounts of cannabis for them and always coming back with the money, and they know that you're good for it. And so by doing this in the licensed market, the ideal situation would be to get your bulk flower on net terms, which means if you could get net 14 or net 30, that'll give you 14 to 30 days until you have to pay for it. And so that's super powerful if you can manage to leverage those relationships with either a cultivator or a distributor. And what that's gonna do is allow you to get the raw materials, your flower. You're gonna take possession of that and transfer it over to your manufacturer and have them start packaging, and before you even have to pay for that flower. So that way you could get it packaged, get it tested, and get it sent to your distributor, and ultimately get sold into stores all within that 30-day window. And if you can manage to do this, it's gonna leverage a lot of your startup costs. And by doing this, you also have access to the bulk pounds from that grow too, so it doesn't all have to go into your brand. So if you can sell some of those bulk pounds that you're getting on net 14 or net 30 days, you can take some of that profit, reinvest that into buying your packaging, do another run. Once you get your packaging back, keep moving these bulk pounds, getting your profit. Once you get your packaging, you're ready to start rolling out your brand. Now take some of those pounds that you're getting on terms, put that into your packaging, get it tested, get it to your distributor, get it on the shelves. And this whole time you're still moving bulk pounds. And so as long as you continue paying your net terms, you continue paying your invoice every 14 to 30 days, depending on what your net terms are, that cultivator or that distributor is gonna be comfortable with giving you more and more and more and continuing this relationship. And so as long as you keep your credit good with them, you're gonna continuously have this flow of bulk materials that not only you can make immediate money off of by just flipping the bulk pounds, but you can also utilize some of those bulk pounds for your brand and get that head start on getting it to market before you actually gotta pay for those raw materials. This is super powerful, and I've leveraged situations like this myself in order to get to where I'm at today. A big piece on this though is you have to keep a solid reputation. You have to make sure that the suppliers that you're working with trust you in order to do this. And it's just like having a credit card where you make some purchases, pay it back, make some more purchases, pay it back, and your credit limit will keep going up. And so if they see over time, over a year, 2 years, 3 years, you keep doing this and keep coming back, they're gonna be more and more comfortable to let you run with more and more inventory. And so keep your credit good, keep your name good, keep your reputation good, and this will work exponentially into your favor. So I go more in depth on this in my free school community, which you can sign up for in the links below, as well as our weekly group calls for our inner circle. And this is for brand owners and aspiring brand owners to be part of, where we get on these weekly group calls and we have in-depth conversations and strategy sessions to help optimize, build, grow, scale, and become as profitable as possible with your licensed brand. So before we get into method 2, I'm gonna break down real quick the startup costs of getting a licensed cannabis brand up off the ground and getting some profit coming back. So obviously we need initial inventory. We need flower. If you're doing vapes, you're gonna need distillate. If you're doing pre-rolls, you're gonna need input material for that. So earmark at least $4,000 to $6,000 for your first batch of raw materials. And that could be anything from a couple pounds of 2 to 3 different strains. You don't need a lot, and especially getting started, you don't wanna get a lot either, because you're gonna have to get these sales kick-started, and you don't want your product to sit and go bad in that time period. So you're gonna start with the least amount possible, get that going, and those raw materials, you need that to get started. The next piece that you need is your packaging. Your packaging is gonna be at least another $3,000 to $4,000. And obviously all these costs are minimum costs. You can definitely go above these costs, no problem, but I'm breaking down what your minimum cost would be to get something viable started. Next is your graphics, your branding, your logo, your merch, your website. And this, on a shoestring budget, or if you're doing it yourself, you could probably get it done for anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. But if you really want to do it right, it's going to cost upwards of $5,000, potentially closer to $10,000 or more, to truly build out a proper brand and do it at an upper echelon level. The next cost is your testing costs. So every strain that you do, every strain that you roll out, say if you're rolling out 2 different strains, each test is gonna be about $500 per strain, each compliance test. So if you do 3 strains, that's gonna be about $1,500 in testing. You do 2 strains, that's gonna be about $1,000 in testing. If you do 4 strains, it's about $2,000 in testing. So you see why it's good to start with a smaller amount of strains, as well as a smaller amount of volume of those strains, while you get stuff onto the shelves and get some profit coming back, and then scale from there. The next cost to account for is marketing and samples. And I lump samples into marketing because I consider that a form of marketing. So bare minimum, you're gonna need at least $2,000 to $3,000 for this. But if you can allocate closer to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, you'll have a much better rollout with your marketing. You'll have money for doing some key events. This is gonna really help out in the beginning, especially doing some event marketing. And then while you're at these events, being able to pass out samples to people in highly eye-catching designed packaging. That way they remember it, they smell it, it's good quality, it smokes good, there's a visual anchor there. So it's very important to give out quality samples in well-designed packaging with a well-designed brand, and a way to follow that up with your QR code, your website on the back. And this is a very powerful strategy. So you need to allocate money for this in the beginning, especially in the beginning. And it's something that's gonna be going as you scale your brand. You're gonna continue doing event marketing, you're gonna continue doing samples, and this is necessary. Okay, and the last 2 costs technically don't have to come out of your pocket, but they're gonna come out of the sold inventory. And that's your sales commission and your distro fee. A distro fee I like to target on a low end is 10%, but it can vary anywhere from 10% up to 20%. And there's reasons why you might end up paying a higher percentage to the distributor. However, I like to allocate 10% as a bare minimum. That's what I pay to my distributors. And then you're gonna have another 5 to 10% commission to your salespeople. And this is gonna depend on a few variables, where that percentage lands with them. And I'll do a different video about how to allocate your sales commission percentages. But basically in this video, just know that your distribution percentage and your sales percentage, that gets paid to the distributor and to the salesperson when money's collected from the sales to the retail stores. So technically you don't have to have that money up front. However, it's gonna come out of your payouts. So the money you have coming back is gonna be minus your distro fee and your sales commission. So all in all, this adds up to, on the low end, about $20,000. On a higher end, anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000. So just on a wide range here, let's say from 20 to 50,000 is a comfortable startup expense for your licensed cannabis brand. And you can definitely get this done for less than 20. However, it's gonna be you leveraging relationships. It's gonna require you doing a lot of the work. Like if you can do the design work yourself and do it quality, maybe leveraging some net terms, like I said, on your startup costs, maybe using some of your connections to get into some of these events without having to pay up front potentially. So there's ways that you can lower these costs. However, 20 to 30,000 is gonna be a good amount to mentally prepare for starting up your licensed cannabis brand. Now that you're familiar with some of these key startup costs, I'm gonna jump into method 2, which breaks down another method on how to get this startup capital. And whether that's 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, you could get this pretty easily from what I see. I haven't really done it myself personally, but I know people who have been. And this is by leveraging 0% interest business credit cards. And by doing this, you get your business credit, which gives you higher limits, and it also doesn't report to your personal credit. However, in order to make this happen, you need to have a good personal credit score or have someone willing to co-sign for you that does. So I'm not giving any financial advice here. I'm not giving credit advice here. However, I know that there's a viable option out there for a lot of people. For whatever reason, these banks are giving out this 0% business credit right now. And you can definitely leverage that in your favor. You get a year of 0%. You can max out that card and not pay it back for a full year as long as you're making your minimum payments. And you can utilize that business credit to pay for your packaging, pay for events, pay for employee costs, pay for marketing costs, even pay for your raw materials. So this is very powerful. And if you can actually combine these two methods, you can even supercharge your rollout, maybe do a few more SKUs, hit more stores, do more marketing, get your social media presence scaled up quicker. So use this money wisely, but whatever you do, do not spend the money frivolously. Do not go out there trying to just do events to do them or pay for extra shit to just look flashy or look like you're winning. So whatever you do, spend this money wisely and spend it on ways that it's gonna come back to you. Do not spend it in dead-end situations. Don't go buy clothes with it. Don't go out shopping with it. Don't go buy food with it. Use it to spend on your business. Reinvest it into your business. And the whole purpose of this is you're getting a 0% loan, a startup loan, to cover your startup costs in your business. And the idea is that within 12 months or less, you have profit coming back, enough profit so you can pay down those loans, those business credit cards. And by doing so, you have a viable business that's running profitably. You get those business credit cards paid off, and now you have a profitable business that you came out of pocket nothing for, and these credit cards finance for you. So here's a few final tips on how to lower your startup costs without cutting corners. First is to work with distros and manufacturers and cultivators that leverage net terms for you. And this, you gotta start small and build it up, but it's truly on you and your ability to pay that back on time, keep your name clean. And I went over this earlier, but there's other ways to leverage net terms. And that could be with your manufacturer that's doing your packaging. It could be with a manufacturer that's maybe rolling your pre-rolls. There's ways to have them issue your payments on net terms as long as you pay that back on time consistently. So the more you can leverage that, the more startup capital you retain to then spend on marketing, for instance. The next tip is to utilize print-on-demand services. So instead of getting all your merch printed up in bulk up front, which is usually the strategy, you have to go order each size and how much volume of each size you want, smalls, mediums, larges, extra large, extra large, etc. So it's a huge upfront cost when you order all these shirts at once. Instead, utilize print-on-demand services. There's a lot of quality ones out there. You get the exact same blanks, the same quality t-shirts through the print-on-demand places. You load up your designs, you set up your account, and now when people want to buy those shirts, they just hit order and it sends that order to the printer. They print 1 or 2 or whatever that order is for, and they send it to your customer. You can also utilize this for your team. If you need more shirts for your team, for some events, whatever, just click order, the sizes you need, and get a few sent to you. So print on demand is gonna be able to cut down on your startup costs significantly. And there's a lot of great print on demand services out there. The next tip is to keep your SKU count low. Instead of starting with 5 or 10 SKUs, just start with 1 or 2 SKUs to get on the shelf, get those doors open, and get your brand out there. And then as you're getting some sales coming back, that's when you start expanding your SKUs and getting more flavors, more strains, and you can have that ability to scale from there. Because if you do it too early, you run the risk of that product going bad before you can actually get it sold. So you wanna make sure you have that sell-through ability before you start expanding your SKUs. And then another tip is when it comes to marketing, build your following organically. And there's a lot of good strategies out there to utilize both social media in an organic way, as well as event marketing and in-person marketing. And you can do this very cost effectively, especially when it comes to social media marketing. If you're good at building an organic audience online, use that to your advantage. There's a lot of companies out there that pay for eyeballs on their stuff. They pay for ads, they pay for influencer marketing, they pay for UGC, user-generated content. So if you don't have to pay for any of that and you can do it all your own and get actual good results with it, please, please, please leverage that to the fullest. It's one of the most powerful strategies you can use to cut down on your startup costs. Because not only is it not costing you money, but it's also building your potential clientele. So if you want to get more tips like this, be sure to join my free school community below. The link is in the description. And even more so, if you're serious about starting and scaling your licensed cannabis brand without having to own a license, click the other link below. I have a 30-minute brand building course. It's a crash course, takes you from start to finish so you understand what you're getting into, what you have to do, and how to do it properly. If that all looks good, check out that 30-minute video I made. You can book a call with me directly, and we'll talk about next steps and come up with a strategy for how you can roll out your licensed cannabis brand without owning a license and do it profitably.